In the race to outbuild, outgun, and outright stun the world, Soviet engineers often went completely off the rails, sometimes literally. These weren't just weapons, they were mind-bending machines that seemed to leap straight out of sci-fi movies and Cold War nightmares. From flying tanks and screw-propelled vans to laser-blasting war machines, the Soviet Union pushed the boundaries of what was possible, and often what was practical. These were not your everyday military inventions. Get ready to witness the craziest Soviet machines you won't believe actually existed. Back in 1957, while the Cold War was rapidly intensifying, the Soviet Union decided that when it came to firepower, bigger was better. And so, they unveiled the monstrous 2B1 Oka, a nuclear artillery system designed to send a very loud message to the world. Inspired by America's Atomic Annie, which could fire 280mm nuclear shells, the Oka took things to a whole new level with a jaw-dropping 65-foot-long barrel that launched 420mm shells weighing 1,650 pounds. To put that into perspective, a single round weighed more than a grand piano. It had the power to unleash an atomic explosion up to 28 miles away. But this oversized fire breather had a fatal flaw. It was too powerful for its own good. The cannon's monstrous recoil damaged its own chassis with every shot, tearing the gearbox from its mountings. And with its enormous shells taking forever to load, it could only fire once every 5 minutes. In a world shifting rapidly towards missile technology, the 2B1 Oka quickly became a relic, an example of how excess can sabotage innovation. Science fiction fans would be thrilled to know that the Soviets actually built a real-life laser tank. Enter the 1K-17 Shetty, a terrifying piece of futuristic warfare developed during the 1970s. While it wasn't designed to burn holes through enemy tanks like something out of Star Wars, its purpose was no less chilling. This vehicle featured an array of 13 powerful lasers, each focused through massive 66-pound synthetic rubies. These lasers could destroy optical sensors on enemy missiles and vehicles and could even cause immediate blindness in enemy troops. Essentially, it was built for high-tech sabotage. But producing microwave oven-sized rubies wasn't cheap, and using the weapon on people would have violated international law. So before it could ever roll out onto the battlefield, the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 shut down any plans of turning this laser menace into mass-produced reality. Long before sci-fi films imagined giant motherships launching fleets of smaller ships, the Soviets were already trying it out in the 1930s. The Zveno project was a bold experiment that saw bombers repurposed not to drop bombs, but to carry entire fighter planes. These bombers were modified to dock multiple fighters mid-air, fly them long distances while saving fuel, and then launch them near enemy territory. At its peak, the Zveno mothership could carry up to 5 fighters, each loaded with bombs, making it a devastating airborne force. Surprisingly, it worked. These flying carriers saw limited use in the early stages of World War II, but technology caught up fast, and soon sleeker, more efficient fighter jets rendered the entire concept obsolete. Still, for a time, Soviet skies played host to a bizarre and formidable flying circus. A flying tank might sound like something from a comic book, but in 1942, Soviet engineer Oleg Antonov made it a reality, or at least tried to. The Antonov O-40 was a light tank outfitted with detachable wooden biplane wings and a twin tail, effectively turning it into a glider. The idea was that bombers could tow the tank behind them, drop it into enemy territory, and let it glide to the battlefield ready for action. Unfortunately, the drag was so intense that during its first flight, the bomber had to cut the tank loose early. Miraculously, it survived the fall, but the project didn't. The tank never flew again, but it remains one of the most daring military concepts ever attempted. With its awkwardly long legs and strange appearance, the Mil-10 looked like a helicopter built by a giant spider. But this wasn't just for show. Created in the late 1950s, the Mi-10 was designed to lift loads that regular helicopters couldn't even dream of. Unlike the Mi-6, which could only carry cargo inside its body, the Mi-10 could hoist oddly shaped and oversized equipment, trucks, buildings, even entire buses on an external platform beneath its frame. Its towering 30-foot-high legs allowed it to straddle loads and take off vertically. It was an engineering marvel that shocked crowds at air shows and demos. While only 55 were built, a few remained in service well into the 21st century, proving that strange can be surprisingly useful. Among the 245 nuclear-powered submarines the Soviet Union built, the K-84 Ekaterinburg came terrifyingly close to rewriting history. In 2011, while in dry dock for routine welding, a fire broke out on the wooden scaffolding surrounding the submarine's bow. It spread rapidly and firefighters battled the flames for a full day. All the while, the submarine had 4 nuclear missiles on board. One bomb spark could have resulted in a disaster on the scale of Chernobyl or worse. Even more chilling, the sub's sonar system was filled with highly flammable liquid. Luckily, the fire was eventually extinguished and the sub was repaired. But this incident exposed just how close the world came to another nuclear catastrophe, all thanks to one of the craziest machines still floating beneath the waves. It may have been designed to help farmers, but the M15 Belphegor ended up being a monument to bad ideas and worse aesthetics. Developed in Poland under Soviet influence, this agricultural plane tried to merge a traditional biplane layout with a jet engine. The result was a strange, noisy, and outrageously inefficient crop duster. It could carry 3 tons of pesticide, sure, but it burned through fuel like a fighter jet and had a range of just 215 nautical miles. That's half of what its predecessor, the propeller-driven An-2, could manage. Maintenance was a nightmare, and its single use as a crop duster made it an expensive oddity that quickly wore out its welcome. Production was mercifully halted in 1981. The Lund-class Ekranoplan is one of those machines you have to see to believe. Stretching 242 feet long with a wingspan of 144 feet, it was part ship, part plane, and all Cold War madness. Instead of flying high, it hovered just feet above the water using ground effect physics. With 8 turbojet engines mounted up front and the ability to carry 110 tons, it could skim over the sea at 340 miles per hour. Faster than most military jets. And just to make sure nobody missed the point, it came equipped with massive missile launchers. This monstrosity was built to take down US aircraft carriers in Soviet waters, but after one prototype entered service in 1987, the collapse of the USSR grounded it for good. No. That wasn't a UFO spotted in the Soviet skies, it was Project Ekip. Shaped like a flying saucer and powered by air cushion technology, this 1978 prototype was designed to fly from land or water with unmatched fuel efficiency. Engineers predicted it could use only 14 grams of fuel per passenger kilometer, nearly a third of what conventional planes required. The futuristic design promised all-terrain versatility and massive passenger capacity. But as the Soviet Union teetered and collapsed, so did the project. The Ekip never took off, literally or figuratively, but its design remains one of the boldest attempts at reshaping how we fly. Before George Lucas dreamed up the Millennium Falcon, the Soviets were building something eerily similar, the Bartini-Berry VVA-14. Developed in 1972, it was a vertical takeoff amphibious aircraft designed to skim the ocean surface and target US submarine-launched missiles. It used wing and ground effect and featured unique lift pods to float above the waves. The VVA-14 was supposed to have 12 lift engines for full vertical takeoff, but these were never installed. After its visionary designer passed away in 1974, the project lost momentum and was eventually shelved. Still, it remains a symbol of Soviet ambition and uncanny resemblance to sci-fi legends. Forget wheels or tracks. How about giant rotating screws? That's exactly what powered the ZVM 2901, an off-road machine built in the 1970s. It combined a standard van cab with two massive cylindrical screw drives that burrowed into soil, ice, and even water. This beast could conquer swamps and rivers with ease, but there was one big problem: speed. With a top road speed of just 50 miles per hour and only 6 miles per hour on water, it was more tortoise than tack. Though undeniably innovative, it was no match for faster, more reliable vehicles, and the design was eventually scrapped. In the early 1930s, aviation was still in its infancy, but that didn't stop Soviet engineers from dreaming big, really big. The Kalinin K-7 was an enormous flying fortress with 9 engines, a 170-foot wingspan, and a 27-ton frame. Designed to carry up to 120 soldiers or 21 tons of bombs, it was the largest plane of its time. But with groundbreaking size came groundbreaking issues. The only prototype crashed during testing, and the concept was deemed too advanced for the available technology. It was a bold attempt that ended in disaster, but it showed how far Soviet ambition could soar. Long before the Soviets, Imperial Russia tried its hand at over-the-top engineering. During World War I, they rolled out the Tsar tank, a 3-story tall metal monster with 30-foot front wheels and a 60-foot-long body. Armed with machine guns and cannons, it looked like it could level a forest, but poor weight distribution doomed it. Its small rear wheel got stuck in soft ground during tests and couldn't be freed. The entire project was abandoned, and the tank rusted in place for years. A truly colossal failure in every sense. No Soviet machine journey would be complete without the mighty MAZ trucks. Born in 1954, these heavy haulers were engineered to carry everything from tanks to intercontinental ballistic missiles. They began with the MAZ 529, then scaled up to beasts like the MAZ 535, MAZ 543, and the staggering MAZ 7907. The latter had 24 wheels, 12 axles, and could haul over 100 tons of payload. Some were nearly 100 feet long and designed to carry rockets as big as 6-story buildings. When the Soviet Union fell, the ultimate MAZ designs fell with it, but their legacy still towers over military transport history. From flying tanks to submarines nearly causing nuclear disasters, these Soviet machines are proof that the USSR never shied away from pushing technological limits, even if it meant driving into the realm of madness. Which one shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. And if you're fascinated by tech gone wild, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more insane engineering stories right here on WowTechFusion.